Kelsey Covington, and I am the Provider Services Coordinator for Provider Enrollment with Indiana Medicaid. Today, I will be providing you with information on how to enroll with Indiana Medicaid as a Type 12 school corporation, as well as walking through an example application. I will be providing you with important resources that will be crucial in completing your enrollment application. We're first going to start off with some basics to enrollment. The first step in ensuring that you are enrolled correctly is to make sure you are enrolling as the correct provider classification. School corporations can only be enrolled as billing providers. You will have the option to enroll as a billing, group, rendering, or OPR. However, billing is the most appropriate classification for this type of enrollment. The provider type that you're going to select is Type 12 School Corporation. Please note that an enrollment application should only be submitted for school corporations. Avoid enrolling individual schools within the corporation. During the application process, you will have the option to either submit the application via paper or the IHCP healthcare portal. Although paper application is available, it is highly discouraged. You can start the application by selecting the highlighted option Provider Enrollment on the left side of the homepage. Some of the requirements to enroll as this provider type include completion of the provider application, signing the provider agreement, submitting an updated federal W-9 form, and you must be registered as a corporation with the Indiana Department of Education. Next, we are going to discuss specific sections of the application that could cause concern for newly enrolled providers. Providers are required to provide the MPI associated with their school corporation. School corporations are going to want to make sure that the MPI that they are disclosing is a Type 2 organization MPI. If you currently do not have an MPI, the link shown will take you to an application that will allow you to apply for an MPI. The taxonomy code that should be used for this enrollment is listed as Local Education Agency. There is a question within the provider application that asks you if you are a disregarded entity. School corporations should not be classified as a disregarded entity. This section is for federal tax purposes. While submitting addresses on the enrollment application, the address that you list under service location should match line 1 of the W-9. This line should list the legal name of the school corporation. This name can be found on the IDOE's K-12 online directory. Line 2 of the W-9 should list the DBA of the school corporation if applicable. Please avoid enrolling using individual school names within the school corporation. Individual schools should not be enrolled separate from the school corporation. The W-9 should always match the way you fill out the provider identification section of the application on the provider portal. Each of the numbered sections labeled 1 through 3 on the provider identification section should match lines 1 through 3 on the W-9. If you select limited liability company, please be sure to fill out the highlighted box with the classifications listed. The address section of the W-9 should match the W-9 address listed on the address section of the portal application. If you are government-owned or nonprofit, select Other and specify which of the two you are classified as. You will be required to provide IRS documentation proving nonprofit or government-owned status. Disclosure requirements. Required under federal regulation, the Medicaid agency must require the disclosing entities, fiscal agents, and managed care entities provide the following disclosures: the name and address of any person, individual or corporation with an ownership or control interest in the disclosing entity, fiscal agent or managed care entity. The address for corporate entities must include an applicable primary address, business address, every business location, and PO box address. Date of birth and social security number in the case of an individual, and other tax identification numbers in the case of a corporation with an ownership or control interest in the disclosing entity or fiscal agent or managed care entity, or in any subcontractor in which the disclosing entity or fiscal agent or managed care entity has a 5% or more interest. Although school corporations are not owned by a single or group of individuals, the Medicaid agency is required to collect the names, address, birthday, and social security number of board members, managing individuals, or anyone with controlling interest. If this information is not provided, the application will not be processed to completion. For schools, you will not list individuals with ownership interest. Corporations with ownership will be listed as the school corporation and its tax ID number. Some examples of managing individuals that can be disclosed specific to school corporations include the president, school district superintendent, board members, special education director, and charter school leader, each in which are required the social security number. Next, I'm going to walk you through an enrollment application specific to school corporations. This should provide you with more clarity when filling out the application. The first step in enrollment is to navigate to the IHCP Provider Enrollment Portal homepage. On the left-hand side of the page, you're going to find a link to provider enrollment. Next, you're going to select Provider Enrollment Application. The next page is going to provide you with a list of information providers are going to need to enroll. Click to continue. The first section of the application is the provider identification page. School corporations are always going to select billing as their classification. Next, select Type 12 School Corporation. The effective enrollment date should always be the day you are submitting the application, unless you have a claim that matches the retroeffective date that you're going to request. The enrollment request should be selected as a new enrollment. Select No for disregarded entity because this does not apply for this type of enrollment. Provide the tax ID for the school corporation. Contact information. The contact should be selected based on who will receive communication regarding the enrollment. An example, recertification, revalidation, enrollment update notifications, and general correspondence from the enrollment team. Click Add after each individual. Delegated administrators are individuals entered during the initial IHCP enrollment. These are the individuals who are authorized to submit updates for paper submissions only. This option is not related to the task of registering delegates in the IHCP portal. We suggest selecting more than one delegate in the event an employee leaves. This will prevent an entity from losing access to the portal to make future changes. Adding delegates takes place when you set up your portal account. If other delegates are not added to the enrollment, a new application will need to be submitted if the provider loses access to the portal. Specialties. You're going to select 120 School Corporation and then click Add, and then click Continue. This is the only option for this provider type. On this page, there are going to be 4 addresses you're going to need to fill out. You will need to fill out each address for service location, mail to, pay to, and W-9. For the service location, this is the location of the school corporation. Mail to, this is where the school corporation will receive correspondence with IHCP. Pay to, where the school corporation will receive paper checks if opted out of electronic payment, and the W-9 address, which is the legal address for the school corporation. This section must match Section 5 of the W-9 exactly. Going back to slide 10, DBA in this section needs to match line 2 of the W-9. After you have filled out the address, you're going to need to click Verify Address and select either Original Address or Suggested Address. You will need to do this after every address that is added. Please note that if you need to change any portion of the address while filling out the application, you will need to highlight the whole address, city or zip code in which you are trying to correct, and start typing the correction. The system will not allow you to use the backspace button. To save time, if addresses are the same, select copy. Next, you will need to select the next address type highlighted in red. The address listed for the W-9 must match the exact address included on the W-9 itself. This section is referenced in slide 10 with a comparison to the W-9. This section of the application is the most common, RTP, for providers to correct on their application. Please make sure each numbered section on the application matches the numbered sections of the W-9. Lines 1, 2, and 3 must match the W-9 exactly. Line 3, select government owned. This must match section 3 of the W-9 exactly. Fill out line 4 with the appropriate information if it applies to your school. Provider identification continued. Number 5 is the MPI of the school corporation. Section 6, you're going to select the taxonomy code local education agency, and then you're going to click add and continue. Languages and accessibilities. Select all that apply and click add after each selection. In part 2 of this section of the application, for the questions, if selecting yes that you are ADA accessible, click add after each accessibility, then click continue. EFT information. Select if you would like payments electronically deposited. If selecting no, it will give you the option to move forward. If selecting yes, proceed to item 2 and provide banking information and select new EFT for reasons for submission. You're going to select none for medical review program participation, and then select the second option for 340B participation. Disclosed entities. School corporations are limited risk and do not need to complete fingerprinting and criminal background check. For individuals with an ownership or control interest in managing individuals, school corps will only be selecting managing individuals and/or board of directors. Disclosed entities must include their social security number and date of birth. Here's an example for reference. Once the section is filled out into completion, click Save. Here you're going to insert the legal name of the school corporation. In the ownership section, you're going to insert 100% ownership. Then you're going to select No for the disregarded entity question. Then you're going to click Save. This section is asking for you to disclose any relationships that you may have with the other disclosed members listed on this application, as well as if you have been convicted of any healthcare-related fraud crimes. Provider enrollment agreement. This section of the application can only be signed by individuals who are listed under this disclosure section. If another name is input, the following error will show. Terms of agreement. Providers will need to review and agree that all information is correct. This section can be signed by the disclosed entity or the delegated administrator previously selected. Click Continue and you will be prompted to submit. Attachments. Once you have selected to submit, you will be directed to a page that will provide you with your application's ATN, which is an application tracking number. Select Click Here, and it will navigate to the attachments page. Pro tip, if you don't upload the attachments, your application will not be processed for review. Every provider has a different set of attachment requirements. The documents that your provider type is required to submit will show up in the dropdown. You must select each option and upload the documents separately. In the event that you have to resubmit your application after the application was returned to you for changes, please be aware that the attachments page might prompt you to upload a document for retroeffective date request. This is because the application is using the date of your initial submission. You will need to upload a document stating that you are not requesting a retroeffective date and that you are requesting the date that your application was originally submitted. All required documents will show in the drop-down box. For each attachment, select the attachment type, upload the document, and select Add. Continue to select each attachment type until all required documents are added. Once all required documents are added, select Submit. You will then be prompted to create a password for your ATN. If your application is returned for corrections, proceed to the main page of the IHCP Provider Enrollment Portal and select Provider Enrollment. And instead of selecting Provider Enrollment Application, you're going to select Resume Enrollment. Then you're going to input the ATN, the tax ID number, and the created password. Please note that if a password is forgotten during the application process, they currently cannot be reset. A new application will need to be submitted. To check the status of your application, you're going to navigate to the IHCP Provider Portal homepage, select Provider Enrollment, and there will be an option listed as Application Status. You're going to input your ATN and then your TIN, and then select Search. Once you have been successfully enrolled in the program, you're going to receive a welcome letter, which is going to consist of your provider ID number. To sign up for the IHCP Provider Portal, you're going to need this number. You're going to navigate to the portal, click on the homepage, and select Register. Next, you're going to select Provider. Here you're going to be prompted to input your provider ID and tax ID number. Once you select Continue, you're going to want to fill out the registration online form. The delegate code is provided at initial enrollment. This code is going to be needed to register multiple profiles for each delegate selected. You will need your provider ID number, tax ID number, and your delegate code. The provider representative who added them as a delegate on the enrollment will receive the delegate code. Last, you will be prompted to set up your profile and challenge questions. Once submitted, you will receive a verification email. Once verified, your online profile will be ready to use. Revalidation. Revalidations are due every 5 years. Providers will receive a 90, 60, and 30-day notice that revalidation is due via mail and email, which is the contact email that you provided at initial enrollment. Revalidations are submitted closer to the 30-day notice, could be at risk for deactivation. Once the ATN is completed, the enrollment will be reactivated with no gap in coverage. Please ensure that all contact information and mail to addresses are up to date to receive these notices. There are multiple resources available that a provider can use to help maintain their enrollment or assist with any enrollment concerns that they may have. There are regional field consultants who are assigned based on the county in which the provider provides services. Listed will be contact information, which will include a voicemail line and an email address. Providers who decide to call will need to leave a voicemail to obtain a call back. The provider reference materials links have information pertaining to IHCP bulletins that have been posted, service and provider specific modules, IHCP portal, and claim submissions. The provider education link is going to provide information regarding future provider education opportunities such as the annual fall seminar, IHCP Works, IHCP webinars, IHCP Quick Hits, amongst a plethora of different trainings. You can find current and previous presentations at this link. To register for updates on the Indiana Medicaid provider website, you're going to provide your email address and then sign up. It is very important to make sure you are utilizing your provider relations field consultants as your first point of contact for enrollment issues that you experience. We have also provided an email address for our OMPP Provider Relations inbox for individual provider concerns requiring assistance from the state. We also have the IHCP Listens email address, which you can submit feedback for IHCP presentations, ideas for future presentations and workshops, and questions to be answered in future publications. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to your new enrollment with Indiana Medicaid. Thank you.